great day to be an Eagle. One more time for the greatest team in
All right, Eagle Nation, welcome to a special bonus episode of Gata Talk. We wrap things up for Season 8, our Season 8 finale. That's already published. Hopefully, you've already heard that. We broke down the kind of transfer portal at that time, Cody, right? We were just in day 2 of it. I'm knowing that more things were going to break and whatnot, but talked about the Birmingham Bowl, talked about coaching changes, all that good stuff, and just season recap. But since we recorded and published, we did have a big move in the transfer portal of a guy coming and signing with Georgia Southern that we felt was too big not to discuss, too big not to, hold off and wait 6 weeks, before we kind of address it. So, and that's Max Johnson, quarterback from most recently UNC Chapel Hill. He started his career at LSU in 20 and 21, transferred to Texas A&M, then UNC, now Georgia Southern. So his 4th school, his 7th year of eligibility. This is a guy that's he's 24, going to be 25 by the time the 2026 season starts. By all accounts, probably QB1, I would imagine, coming in. So I think a lot to unpack here. A lot has been discussed on social media amongst the fan base. Some happy with it, some not so happy with it. A lot of question marks and concerns of what this means for the quarterback room and guys like Weston, Bryan. So yeah, Cody, just a lot to unpack.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a smart move. I don't blame the coaching staff for going out and trying to find a veteran quarterback that has been around. It fits the bill. I think the only concern is I know that he's coming off the injury. I think he was injured this past year too, right? After he took over for Lopez for a little bit.
Possibly. He's had 2 season-ending injuries, and the biggest one, he broke his femur, which was a horrific one.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm not upset by it. I don't think it's an automatic, he's the guy right off the bat like it was with Kyle Van Treese and with David Brin. I think if Weston Bryan comes in there and outperforms, I think he's the QB. Will he do that? I don't know. Is he ready to do that? I don't know. To me, it's a great piece to have and continue the development of Weston Bryan for 2027 and so how that works out. And on top of that, I mean, my biggest concern, honestly, at all of this is that he's left-handed, right? So how is that going to affect the receivers and them catching the ball? Outside of that, he comes from a great pedigree. His family, his dad won a Super Bowl.
Brad Johnson. Yep.
And that, by all accounts, it seems to be really good at playing the quarterback position. He's just had some really unfortunate injuries that has ended his seasons, too many times. So if he can come in here, give it one last hurrah, have a great final season, and try to put himself in a position to get either drafted late in, the NFL draft or go off to the Canadian Football League or non-declared, but undrafted free agent of some sort and take that next step, then albeit. But the main thing is I just want to see consistent quarterback play, whoever it is, whether it's him or Weston Bryan. I mean, to me, the biggest question of all of this is just what sort of schematic changes does Aplin bring into next season to take the offense to the next step? I think, to me, that's where my biggest concern is as a fan. Not so much who the quarterback is. I think quarterback-wise, we're fine, whether it's Mac Johnson or Weston Bryan. I'm more concerned about the schematics of everything and how Aplin's going to handle the offense.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair concern. I think especially if we went into this with Weston being the clear guy, if we didn't bring in Johnson, maybe if we brought in a guy who doesn't have the seniority or the experience that he does, like a guy out of the FCS or maybe like a backup in G5 or even P4, I would be more concerned because I feel like Johnson fits the mold of what Aplin has done the last 2 years. The whole left-handed quarterback thing is going to be interesting, but I think schematically, if Weston was going to be the clear-cut answer, you would have to adjust things in the game plan to play to his strengths because he is a different player than Max Johnson. He's a different player than a JC French or Van Treese or Davis Brin. So, he just like, play into, more RPOs, more design quarterback runs, things like that. Obviously, we saw that in packages with Weston Bryan this year, and played in I think every game this year, but just one or two plays. Did get to throw the ball, showed off his strong arm, but yeah, they're very different players. Mac Johnson and Weston Bryan, right now anyway, are very, very different players and what they can bring to the table. And, I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting how this all shakes out with, how Aplin adjusts the playbook depending on what guy lines up under center.
Yeah. So I think we still are looking for some pieces to bring in, right? We still want to probably bring in a couple of wide receivers, maybe another tight end. And probably I think we're still doing our best, even though we brought in a couple of guys to develop, the O-line depth that we need. So, with Max Johnson, again, I haven't followed him too much at all really in his career with the teams that he's played on. I haven't really kept up with them too much. So I'm assuming he's just a pocket quarterback, right? He's not a he's not a mobility guy.
He's and with the injuries, I mean, again, breaking your femur, you're talking about. I heard 5 surgeries he had when that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a Joe Theismann type gruesome break,
Okay.
right? And then he had another season-ending injury in his time at LSU, I believe, in 21, I think it was that cut his time short there. And then. Yeah, so I mean, he obviously had a long rehab process. I mean, this was something that some guys never bounce back from,
Mhm.
and never even like walk the same way. So, much less be able to play Division I college football. But yeah, so not a mobile guy. He's big, quintessential, just like his dad, Brad Johnson. 6'5", 225 pounds, one of the biggest quarterbacks we've ever
Yeah.
brought in. But yes, it kind of your quintessential pocket passer. So
So
even
they're
more
gonna
so than
need
French.
so
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna need O-line protection, or we're gonna have to get the ball out really quick on every play. I mean, that's honestly how this is gonna have to be drawn up. I don't think we can really afford to have long developing routes and try to, you know I know that we had talked about how it seemed like the offense really got going whenever we could stretch the ball downfield. Well, if we can't protect the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds, how are we gonna stretch the ball downfield, especially with a guy that can't really move, too
Right.
much out of the pocket. So
Yeah.
I will say this, looking at the stats that he has, I feel like when he has played, he's played well.
He has, yeah. So his best season was 21. So maybe that
Yeah.
wasn't when he got hurt. So one interesting note. So like I said, he started his career at LSU. His first year was the COVID year, 2020. So obviously season cut short. We played a full season, but the SEC did not. He threw for over 1,000 yards that season, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception, only 58.7% completion percentage that freshman year. But think about it, Cody. That was 2020. What did LSU do in 2019? That was Joe
Yeah.
Burrow,
Yeah.
right? So you're talking about the guy that literally took over for Joe Burrow, just insurmountable shoes to fill,
Mhm.
right? So right there, he was just like behind the 8 ball, but then, yeah, 21 was his best, like season statistically, on record. He was 60% completion percentage, over 2,800 yards, 27 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. That was something I pointed out on social media. Overall, in his career, really since those 2 seasons, he has been kind of in backup roles. Again, had that season-ending injury, um, you know, but he's thrown for 49 total touchdowns, only 13 interceptions. So that's a really solid
Yeah.
ratio.
It is.
Way better than what we saw out of Davis Brin coming out of Tulsa. Way better than what we saw out of Cal Van Treese coming out of Buffalo. And honestly, even French. I mean, we didn't have any college tape for him, but obviously, he had his interception turnover troubles, fumbling the ball as well. So yeah, so that's one promising thing is, yes, he's that pure pocket passer, but he takes care of the football, which his dad did really well. I mean, like anytime I talk about just in football conversations of like the whole game manager persona, right? Brad Johnson always like comes up because like you said, he won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he didn't do anything flashy. Like I
Well,
don't
him and
think he
Chet
like
Dilfer, I feel
yeah,
like, are the two guys that you think about.
that's it, because they take care of the football, they make the plays when they have to, make the throws when they have to, and they don't turn the ball over, and if he's even, a shade of that, that his dad was, then that's a step in the right direction for what we've seen
Mhm.
of the quarterbacks that Helton has attracted. So yeah, so at UNC, he came there. I think that's when he had his injury, was 24 last year, so he bounced back from that. The idea was for him to be the starter, but obviously a lot of unknowns there. You bring in Bill Belichick. That experiment did not work out, not at
Yeah.
least not in year one. Only 4 wins, right? They bring in Gio Lopez from South Alabama, one of the best Sunbelt
I think
quarterbacks.
he also is transferring too out
He
of
is
there.
transferring, yeah. So I think it's just a bad situation
Yeah.
with the whole Belichick thing. But a lot of people are questioning that of like, he couldn't beat out Gio Lopez. Well, he's coming back from that injury. He did play like a decent amount. He threw for 432 yards this past season, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 62% completion percentage, and yeah, and then barely. I think it was the first game actually of 24 that he suffered that injury.
Okay.
He only threw for 71 yards up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you nailed it in the open. But I think I disagree with you on one of those points. Is like, if you're Max Johnson, you're coming down to be the starter.
Well, yeah. I that's for sure. But I don't think it's like. Is it 95% sure that he's going to be the starter? Probably so. But it's completely that it was 100% sure for both Bryn and Kyle Vantrease.
It was
Okay. Um, I think if Weston Bryan just comes in and just has this immaculate offseason and just does everything to perfection, then I don't think that you can really hold him back. Is that a real possibility of happening? Probably not, but it could. It
it
could.
could it could
Okay.
yeah
But what you don't want to have is it just be Weston Bryan and a couple of freshman quarterbacks that haven't really played, and then Turner Helton, who you don't really know what you got with him, even though he's an older upperclassman, and you're kind of left in this QB, purgatory if you don't really know what you have, and you're trying to almost baptism by fire, maybe too early. But you bring in Max Johnson, he probably does win the starting job. He probably does come in here and starts at least game 1 and probably the first 4 or 5 games. And you just kind of go from there. I don't know. To me, it's a good move. It's a smart move. From what I've seen out of the recruiting so far, a lot of it has made sense. There's been really no overreach. I know that there's guys that have obviously went to have committed to other schools that we were looking at, but I think you still have a week left in this cycle in terms of to enter the
something like that.
portal.
Yeah.
But you want to try to get guys committed as early as possible so they can get into the school and get involved in spring workouts and all that. So, we'll see what happens over the next week. But so far, I mean, outside of wanting more offensive linemen, I can't say I'm too disappointed.
That's the one position. Yeah, I feel like.
But I feel like we can't
defense-
have too many offensive linemen. You know what I
No,
mean?
you can't. You certainly can't. And I'll say like Coach Moot's new defensive coordinator. I mean, he hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Getting some guys like you saw that I would say like 80-90% of the guys that we were seeing just being offered early on were on the defensive side of the ball, which we knew was going to have an overhaul, and we had some people leave too. But we had mass attrition on the offensive side, entire offensive line. JC French, who now we know he's going to Cincinnati.
But we do have one returner coming back. I forgot about who got injured. Is it left tackle or right tackle? I can't remember.
The left.
But is it Kalen or Kalen Williams?
That sounds right. Kalen Williams.
So anyways, and I'm sorry if we're mispronouncing the name. We're just going off the top of our heads here. Matt's looking it up, but we do have at least one starter from the offensive line last year that I think he tore his ACL or MCL, something like that.
He did. Kalen ACL against USC. missed the rest of the season. And then,
So should be back.
he's excited to have one more year in Statesboro. So,
Okay.
so that's good. So we got him. We got a guy out of the portal that came in yesterday, obviously kind of eclipsed by the Max Johnson news.
Mm-hmm.
But he is a big offensive lineman, interior lineman out of, I believe, was it East Carolina, East Tennessee State. Thank you, East Tennessee State, and was a freshman All-American, I believe.
Yes.
There. So and yeah, played a lot at center, which we need. So that might end up being our starting center. So yeah, it's coming around. I would say the offensive side had been a little bit slow going at first, but like you said, intentionality, I would say, across the board. It seems like we're being very intentional with who we're bringing. But yeah, kind of circling back to Max Johnson, when we recorded before, when the portal had just opened, you and I had talked about the quarterback room. We knew J.C. French had already entered the portal. Like I said, he ends up at Cincinnati. We expected us to bring in a quarterback, but I was a little shocked by who we actually brought in because, his profile or his resume, I mean, you could argue it is the most impressive quarterback recruit that we have brought in the Clay Helton era. You could even argue like FBS or even in our entire program history.
I will give Clay Helton this. I feel like he's been very intentional in building the quarterback room depth to where he always has at least two options, if not a third option that you don't want to get to, but is there, which, I can't say we've always had that case. For the Lunsford years, it was just a hope and a prayer that nothing happened to Shy Wertz.
For sure.
And then you saw what happened as soon as he left. We didn't really have anybody to fill the void after that.
We did not. And the first year with Calvin Trees, I mean, Helton's been on record of we didn't have anybody behind him. Bryan, obviously, the controversy was you did have French. He played in a similar role that Weston Bryan did this year, and like a package deal. But yeah, so that's going to be my thing with this is I like that we built out the room, but we have to we went into, or we kind of closed the season before French entered the portal, thinking that he was going to return for his third straight year, right? And then you got a guy who's a senior, third-year starter, super rare in the group of five.
Yep.
And then you've got Weston, who maybe gets more reps, maybe he gets complete series, things like that. Nurture him, bring him up so he's ready to take over in 27. Once J.C. French leaves, it's our room there's depth, there's talent there, but a lot of inexperience.
Yep.
And a lot of youth, right? I mean, you've got Charlie Johnson, who's the kid from Moody, Alabama. He's 6'5". He's prototypical kind of pocket passer. Did really well in high school. Excited about him. He's he was a true freshman this year. You had Tyler Budge leave. He signed with Rhode Island. We found that out today. So he might get a starting opportunity there at the FCS level. Turner Helton, you mentioned, he's going to be a senior. Is it going to be between Weston Bryan and Turner Helton? How does that shake out? Or is Turner Helton more of that kind of steady hand backup, which I think is probably how it's going to play out, right? You give Weston a chance, see if the development comes, if he can really make that leap. If not, probably Max Johnson's show, at least to start and see how he does. And then you've got, God forbid if something happens injury-wise to Max Johnson, you have a Turner Helton, if Weston Bryan still isn't ready, that is a serviceable backup.
Yeah. I would think that's probably the line of thinking, if not close. The only thing I can think of that could be different is that you just go ahead and make Weston Bryan the number 2 and just roll with it like that, But no, I'm again, to me, I'm excited. I don't, to me, this is a win. I don't get some of the hate that I saw either on Twitter or on Facebook. A lot of it didn't to me, it just seems like they're going to just hate the move just because it's Helton and they just are.
It's Helton doing it. It is.
And so,
but yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. It's people, there was a big debate on X and, it stems from, obviously Helton has built somewhat of a track record doing this move, right?
Yes.
One of the big storylines with French was that he was a returning starter. We finally have continuity at the QB1 position. Before that, one and done loner quarterbacks. Again, this is the highest profile one to come in. No one knew who Cal Ventrese was. Threw for 1,800 yards his final season at Buffalo. Davis Brin had a little bit more buzz, still a group of 5 program, wasn't a high star guy coming out of high school or anything, doesn't have a Super Bowl winning a dad, that sort of thing. And had interception problem. He comes down, gets at the time at least significant by Georgia Southern standards NIL package and leads the country in interceptions, right? And both quarterbacks finished the regular season 6-6, 6-7 overall by losing the bowl game.
Yeah.
Right. So like the argument is that like, we're not really growing guys within the program. We're not actually developing quarterbacks.
But
I know I'm saying that, I'm not saying that's my opinion. That's what I've seen out of the fan base.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, I think that's hard to, because you've seen the development with French. You've seen the development with Weston Bryan. I would say you would see the development with Tyler Budge, but that'll be at Rhode Island now. We won't get the credit for it, but it's us that developed him. And you have the young man from Alabama who's developing. Yeah. And so I think that argument that we're not developing quarterbacks is a false one. It's a very competitive spot. If you understand that you're not going to be the one playing, you either got to suck it up and just be okay with just getting the free scholarship and starting your adult life, or if you really want a chance at the pros and you need to figure out where else you want to go and try to make it work, that's just how it is now. So I think to me, that argument is a lazy one at best. And honestly, if you want to compete in today's college football, yes, you do have to have development, but at the same time, if you have a guy that's better that needs a spot to go play because he wants one more shot at the pros or one more shot at his opportunity, then you gotta take the chance. Look at Indiana. Indiana is one of the oldest teams right now in college football, and they use the portal wisely. I think we've used the portal wisely in this situation. This is, to me, a smart thing that we've done in terms of here's an experienced quarterback who wants a chance. And by the way, we brought him in too. I don't know. I mean, it's out there that we brought him in.
Yeah.
And
he worked out for the team. Apparently reviewed film.
Did well. Did well.
Showed out, reviewed film, talked scheme, all that kind of stuff. And again, he's a 7th-year guy. He had the COVID year, he had the medical red shirt, he had the normal red shirt. Yes, I get it. Like a lot of people point to that. Obviously LSU fans and stuff are like, this guy's still playing. And there's the whole like poking fun of like, get a job, get on LinkedIn, but instead of the portal, like all that. Like
that's something coming from LSU fans.
I know. Again, I think so. This guy coming in
Let me ask you this. If he's healthy and reaches his potential, he's probably hands down the best quarterback in the conference, don't you think?
Yeah, I think
okay.
He's just been injury plagued. So like you're talking about a guy that again started at LSU, went to Texas A&M, played for Bill Belichick at North Carolina, now is in the Sun Belt Conference. So yes, absolutely. And again, this isn't like one of those like fall from
grace.
The top. Yeah. Fall from grace. He was, and like it happened. So it's a comeback story. And yeah, I'm sure like we discussed, he's looking at it as I can either, be a backup again, in whatever's going on at Chapel Hill under Belichick, probably not get another P4 opportunity, or I could go to a place like Georgia Southern, have one more shot at it, one more year. If he's healthy and he puts up, 3,000 plus 3,500 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, keeps the interceptions low, he's going to get a shot at the NFL. Just based on his size and everything. I mean, even if it is an undrafted free agent, minimum, like you said, Canadian football or the UFL or whatever it's called, right? Like spring league, like he's going to get a shot where sitting on the bench at North Carolina, he's not going to get that.
Correct.
So yes, I think he, the naysayers out there looking at it of like, oh, this is Helton, like just reaching, and he's like enamored by the fact that he's the son of a NFL player and like blah, 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 and all this.
No.
And yeah, I don't look at it that way.
Helton's gotta be smart enough. He's got to win. This isn't a season in which we just go 500 again. I think he understands that we have to take a step forward and really win and get, if not, if we can't win the conference, at least get really freaking close to it. So
I
I
agree,
don't
and
think he can afford
I
another
think a
6-6
healthy
season, to be
to
honest with you.
yeah, he can't, absolutely not, and that was what kinda came up in the online social debate is like, look, riding with Weston Bryan, I get it, he's exciting. I was on the bandwagon before he even played a snap, like, huge kid, lot of potential, high school tape, jumps off the page, like, I get it. I get being excited about him. I get like risking of like him, you know, uh, not liking the competition, and maybe he, takes his ball and plays somewhere else. I get it, but you can't think like that. You have to have a backup plan on a backup plan on a backup plan, and we have had 4 years of largely mediocrity, here, and I think Helton's looking at it from a standpoint, like you said, we have to win now. And who gives us the best shot of that? A Max Johnson or a still unknown, unproven Weston Bryan? It
Yeah.
could be Weston Bryan. He absolutely could, but he's going to have to make a major leap in a turn. Like, it's a huge risk, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
just rolled him out there, like, he could have a miraculous year where we win 9 or 10 games. Guess what? Then he's gone. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
someone's going to pay him big money if that happens. But you also could have we win 4 or 5 games because he has his sophomore slump and struggles.
Yeah.
Where you bring in a steady hand like a Max Johnson, he's been there, mature kid, that I think of all our options does give us the best chance to finally get over that hump and move from a 6-6 team to a 9-10,
And
11
I
win
think
team
it
possibly.
to me, it kinda maybe gives a little bit of a, foreshadowing as maybe where the coaching staff maybe wants to see this team go, which is they expect our defense to be better. So if we can just keep with just maybe a little bit better quarterback play and a little bit better offense, then that should be enough to put us either 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, whatever the case may be. And so this is to me, if I think what kind of sold me was that they were able to bring him in and work him out. And if he passed the flying colors with that, with the offensive staff, knowing full well that they can't miss on this, then all right, I certainly wasn't there. I certainly don't know or seen any of the paperwork or medical paperwork. So if he has to probably pass probably about a dozen or so more check boxes for them to give the okay to say come on down to Statesboro, and if he did all of that, then
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, like he played some this year,
yeah,
limited, but so it's not like he's just coming off of a knee tear or something, and it's like we don't know, and we're just sight unseen, like a Kirk Cousins, like Achilles situation, right? Like
yeah.
we're not just like trusting the doctors, and yeah, here's this check. We actually saw him, so yeah, I think a healthy Max Johnson, he's if not the best quarterback, in the league, I think he's in the top 2 or 3, easily. Depending on what happens with the offensive line, that's a big if, and depending on what happens with the weapons around him, because obviously losing Camden Brown, losing, some other key contributors there, do get Josh Dallas back, probably bring in at least one, if not 2 wide receivers that might play immediately out of the portal. The weapons around them is going to matter. Lose OJ Arnold, so like, we've talked about the running back room. It is deep. It has some
Yeah, I
experience.
don't see them going
Yeah.
after a running back in this transfer window. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I don't think I've seen a running back.
The only kid I saw is there's a kid that played at Statesboro High School
Oh, he's
that
a wide receiver, right?
he was a running back in high school
Okay.
at Statesboro. I think he played receiver too, but he came to Colorado, I believe, as a running back. They converted him to wide receiver. He
Okay.
played a little bit as a freshman, redshirt freshman. I think he's been there 2 years as both. But he had more rushing yards for Colorado this year than he did. Like
So
he
he's
had
sort
like
of
73 rushing yards and like 13
he could almost be like, who was
receiving
it?
yards.
that came out of Tulane that they used really well the first year that Helton and Ellis was
Oh,
here.
Yeah.
Amari Jones. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Amari Jones?
Maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, exactly. Like a versatile kid. He's a bit bigger than the backs we normally see. I think he's like 6'1". But yeah, they're recruiting him. I saw that he actually had an official visit today, the day we're recording this. But yeah, so if Max Johnson gets weapons around him, that's gonna go a long way. I think the defense will be better. Again, I don't think we need to go to like a Calvin Treese or a Davis Brin situation where we're asking a ton out of like a Max Johnson. Like, I don't think we necessarily have to throw the ball 50 plus times a game. I don't think he has to throw for 4,500 yards and shatter records and things like that. He just has to take care of the football, make the throws when they're there. And then, hopefully the defense can pick up the slack and, get us a lot of possessions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, people had pointed out again, he's got 6,300 yards in his career, 49 touchdowns. The numbers are better. So he's played 35 games where JC French played 36 games. His numbers are better, just against better competition. And and then he's got 24 starts under his belt too, and that you can't coach. I mean, 24 starts in the SEC. Yeah, I think most of them came in the SEC. So that's just invaluable. And yeah, I think this is kind of a win now move. Oh, and that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like hopefully in his interview, my biggest thing with this, whoever you're bringing in, including guys already on the roster like a Weston Bryan, the number one priority that you have to make sure that they're aligned with is, are you here to win?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what it comes down to. Yes, there's other factors in the world of NIL and transfer portal and all that. There's the education piece too. So like it's always gonna be multiple reasons of why a guy leaves the school, like a JC French. He graduated, getting a grad degree now at Cincinnati, possibly gets a, start for them on a bigger stage. But obviously NFL aspirations, all of that. But first and foremost, above all of that, because those are all individual things, right? I want to get to the NFL, I want my bag, blah, blah, blah. Above all that, it's like, it's not about me, it's about the team, it's about collective. Do we have a winning mindset? Are we here to win football games, win championships, win bowl games consistently, win division titles consistently? Like that's what, I hope that they asked, Max Johnson, and I hope that's the main reason why he's coming down, not just to get playing time, not just to get a chance at the NFL or $100,000 or whatever he's probably getting in an NL package. Like, is he here to win? And does the entire, collective locker room share that mentality?
Exactly. Yep. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So cool. All right. Well, with that, big shout out to our sponsors for the bonus episode, Can Cut Tools, KNKUT.com, premium drill bits and cutting tools, section 103. Have a whole line of Georgia Southern apparel for men, women, and children. Check them out at section103.com. Save 10% with the code GATATalk. Cody, I appreciate you jumping on and talking this out. Probably take a couple weeks off now with this. Hopefully no other major breaking news, but just felt like this one was too big of a move not to discuss for 2 months. So cool. Well, we'll pick it up in the spring, kind of around the spring game in April. And as always, Hail Southern.
Hail Southern.
Man, what a great day to